Welcome back, you guys. It has been day 5 of the Karen Reed case. Another half day for the jury. I will try to explain what I learned from, well, the state's expert witness of phonology magic. I can tell you, and that I wrote down 6 pages worth of notes, you know, when this expert, Mr. Whiffen, still continues to be English. So Ian Whiffen, was doing his PowerPoint. I will go ahead and first and foremost, absolutely admit that computerology confuses me. Now, his testimony as far as Jennifer McCabe's, search history and how he tried to explain it did seem about the same explanation that he'd given in the first trial, that, basically a tab had been left kind of on in the background since 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., sorry, and then she looked up House Long to Die in Cold, around 6 to 8 a.m. Again, this was all sorts of confusing for me. This testimony, again, a true sign of a good expert is when you can take someone who is not at all comfortable with the technology and clearly and easily define it for them. I will say that I continue to not really understand what the hell he is talking about. That being said, there were some differences from the first trial. Now, this particular time, he did make a PowerPoint. He also tried to include, so in this PowerPoint, the state, the Commonwealth, and Mr. Whiffen basically took information from John and Karen's phone, from Jen McCabe's phone. So he had various different phones that he was looking at. A lot of time was spent on Jen McCabe's, explaining where the search was from, what time the search was done, and trying to give some clarity on that. Now, I will tell you, as a person who tried to take notes and really tried to understand, I sort of maybe kind of think what was going on. But if I was able to take 6 pages worth of notes and I'm still somewhat confused, now granted, I am quite dumb on technology, so it is not out of the realm of possibilities that other people might completely understand all of this testimony. Now, there were some additional things that were not put in the first trial. There was the health data, the temperature health data. So I guess the phone also keeps track of the temperature of the battery or the temperature of the phone. And that was married together with all of the other correlated evidence. So we had evidence from both John and Karen's phone, from Jen McCabe's phone, and then the location data from John's phone, John's text messages, turn off, turn on info, pocket mode info was married into, different messages that other people send. But also, the state spent a lot of time marrying topographical maps to try to explain how the 3 flights of steps could have actually been from driving. Now, Mr. Whiffen stated that he tested this on his own with his phone and was able to recreate basically Apple Health, indicating that he had gone up a flight of stairs when he'd actually been driving. Now, he did say that he had to put some additional arm movement in while he was driving, but that he was able to get his cell phone to register this altitude change as when he was driving, as going up a flight of stairs. Now, there has been there was location data given, and I do think that, and I'm not the smartest crayon in the box, but I do think that the use of meters was a bit misleading, because when they say that the closest, most accurate GPS data was, within 10 meters, that is still about 33 feet ish, give or take ish. So you really, for Baker, it makes perfect sense that he can completely and quickly visualize, you know, 10 meters because that's what he's used to. Whereas 30 feet makes much more sense to me and I think the jury. So it was brought out on defense as little as we got to cross examine, that all these, distances in meters correlate to a distance in feet. Now, or not Veilhammer, Valhalla made a good point that a lot of this information, in his estimation, that the Commonwealth got out on direct was purposely meant to be difficult to digest, difficult to understand, kind of convoluted and conflicted. Now, I never want to take on that, the state is being malicious when I am just a dumbass. So it did seem like some of the information was definitely a bit misleading, a bit kind of confusing. And I don't know if that was by design. Or not, but it definitely did seem to be a bit misleading. Again, Brennan kept trying to get him to say with scientific accuracy. Now, I did have a couple problems with the state having, or the Commonwealth having Whiffen comment on Apple Health, on Waze, GPS, and I do believe the topographical map and the temperature. Now, as far as I know, Mr. Whiffen is only a Cellbrite expertologist, sales rep, someone, not the techno guys. He has not demonstrated any, expertise in iPhones, systems, analystness, or anything. So I don't know why he is the expert that they're bringing in for these things when he, as far as his, CV and experience, his qualifications didn't seem to go into any sort of, cell phone magic and magicianness. Now, we did have a half day today because the other part of the day is the Arc of Voir Dire that Brennan had requested because of the allegation that the defense did not live up to their end of the reciprocal discovery. Now, Bev has found that the defense did violate Rule 14, and we did have Brennan was allowed to voir dire Arca in the afternoon. So the jury went away and they were allowed to voir dire Arca. Now, I will say that Brennan came in hot and douchey. And for as much as Bev likes to remind Mr. Jackson and Mr. Yannetti to keep the comments to yourself, comments to yourself. Brennan was just full of bullshit and vinegar, let's be real. He absolutely, from the very beginning of the voir dire with Dr. Wolf, uh, started asking if he understood the order to produce all of the requests for communications, who he turned those into. Now, it did turn out that he turned out in all of his information to Miss Little and not to the court. Now, Brennan made this seem like a big conspiracy, but maybe if you aren't maybe used to working to the court, you would figure you'd give it to the lawyer that you're working with and they would give it into the court. I'm not quite sure. That didn't seem like a big deal to me. Uh, then they talked about text messages. Now, he was ordered to bring in everything that he had in his possession. It turns out, per Dr. Wolf's testimony, he had switched from T-Mobile to Verizon and was not able to get a lot of information from T-Mobile. He did look at it, did try to get all that he could, but, he just wasn't able to keep it all. Uh, you know, Basically, Brennan was very, very aggressive, snarky, buttholey in during this entire voir dire. He, asked a bunch of questions. Now, the bombshell that did come out is that Dr. Wolf did delete text messages that pertain to the first trial after I believe the Department of Justice released him, and ARCA from all their stuff. He didn't know that if he was going to be involved in the next trial or anything. And, he just deleted them. Now, I don't know what Bev is going to make of all of this. She did, conclude for the day. Now, Dr. Wolf's testimony, his direct examination nation by Brennan was nearly an hour and a half long. Now, to give you kind of a sort of game plan, Bev started this voir dire at 2 p.m. and she generally likes to end the day at around 4. Now, we did go to about 4:30, 4:45. But a good hour and a half of that was taken up with Brennan, basically just asking Dr. Wolf about Signal. Apparently, Mr. Jackson had asked when they were trying to look to see if they could use ARCA per, the Department of Justice, if they would be allowed to use them to either rebut the state's expert witness or have them come in as a defense witness. Uh, it turns out Mr. Jackson wanted them to use Signal, and because Signal doesn't maintain those messages, Dr. Wolf was unable to hand them over. Now, there was a lot of talk about the fact, excuse me, I have got the hiccups, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Why, excuse me, Dr. Wolf gave the defense an outline and some information. One second. Of information before he testified in the first trial. Apparently, according to the testimony of Dr. Wolf, the hiccups are just staying. Look, they're just here. This is something he does during a normal course of most normal trials. He will email himself, talking points to try to just, get everything in his mind, maybe bullet point some things he might think are important for, the whoever he's testifying for to know, you know, just different comments and things like that. So again, Mr. Alisi, I think, did a very good job of sort of explaining, giving a timeline, really explaining what was going on for ARCA in a clear and non-snarky way. So I think that was refreshing after Brennan. Of course, then Brennan came back, and then it was Dr. Rinsler. No, doggone it. It was. Here's a story of a man named Brady. Excuse me. All right. Then it was the other doctor, and my mind is escaping me right now. For the love of Cheetos. Yeah, so again, both doctors did come up. The second doctor, Dr. Rinsler, was much shorter. Now, the big bombshell in that one was Brennan somewhat alluding to, if not downright accusing Dr. Rinsler of. There are a couple different things that are fairly unique about this case. You have ARCA being first, solicited or contracted by the Department of Justice. You have then the Department of Justice having to figure out if, the defense can even use ARCA and what is classified, what is not. So it does appear that the Department of Justice did give the ARCA people information about what, the state's reconstructionist had talked about and things like that. So Brennan then implied that that one of the doctors was feeding Department of Justice information to the defense. It was absolutely the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I have never seen, a state attorney basically accuse a witness of leaking government secrets that were classified. Now, I don't know if Bev did not like the flavor of that sort of questioning because she very quickly after that brought it to a bit of an end. Now, the final thing that both doctors were asked about was whether they would be able to get their sort of rebuttal report done by May 7th. So Bev did not make any rulings. Now, one big other excuse me, thing that happened today was that a juror was taken to sidebar and was being asked questions around Bev with all the other attorneys. As far as I know, he is still a juror and everything. I am going to get off of here so my hiccups will go, but those were the big bombshells. I did want to get this out tonight, so people could watch this if they didn't want to, sit through an entire trial. I'm going to go deal with these hiccups. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this breakdown. Sorry, it's not as detailed as my other ones, but I really, really didn't understand the computer stuff or the phone stuff. And I'm going to have to rewatch it again and maybe see if I can re-understand it. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is not my milieu. Give me any other, testimony and I can deal with it. But technology testimony is always going to be hard for me. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to deal with these hiccups. Bye, guys.